Welcome to, I don't even have the right name of this fucking show. Welcome to Pod Mavericks After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, and tonight I'm joined by fellow site editor and writer at MavsMoneyball.com, Jordan Brodess. You guys haven't seen him in some time because I don't often beg him to come on, but Josh is at the game tonight. Jordan, how are you?
You know, I volunteered early in the day to do this, and I genuinely thought I was volunteering to do a pod that would be after a win. I really thought they were going to win tonight, so I suckered myself, and the Mavs suckered us tonight. I mean, not good, my dude. I poured myself a drink when it got to 21 in the fourth quarter, and because I thought, why not relax a little bit? And then they turned things around, and now here we are. I think there's a lot to reflect on.
So, before we get started, I don't care. I bring a lot of personal shit into this podcast because I spend a lot of my personal time on this podcast, and on this Mav stuff. So it's like there's like a yin and a yang with life, and the way my personal life and professional life goes. If my work life is going well, or if my kid isn't sleeping or something like that, or I'm sorry, if my work life is going well and my kid is sleeping, then the Mavericks are playing like shit. Or the Mavericks are playing awesome. My child is teething 6 teeth at once, or my boss is ready to eject me into space kind of thing. And I've had I nearly wasn't going to pod. I've had probably one of the worst days I've had in years. And you have 2 small children, so you know how this goes. I pull up to daycare to find out the bottle that one of the 3 bottles I've had for my infant, I didn't screw the lid on tight, and so it's just everywhere. All right.
Fun.
My boss misunderstands something I tell him and proceeds to light into me with such vehemence that he called me a drag upon the company. That was really neat.
Not great. Yeah,
which is not true. I'm the hardest working man in non-sports with whatever it is I do for a living. And I kid you not, I don't mean to bring the chat down here. One of my colleagues died. He's been sick for a real long time, and it's not funny, but it's also it's fuck, man. So the rest of the day, and it's just I missed the first half of the game because I was coaching my son's basketball team, and we got boat raced because and you're going to love this. The team we were playing against was running 8-year-olds. The team we were playing against was running a double drag screen and roll. And I'm coaching kids that haven't played before. So trying to teach them to defend in space is really hard. And so we just got crushed. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to come home and the Mavericks are going to win. And the Mavericks are going to win. And and then I come home and the Mavericks are just so I understand the first quarter, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. My understanding of the first quarter is Kyrie and Luka came out firing, and it looked like the Mavericks were going to go down swinging with their superstars essentially taking most of the shots. I know that's normal. Yes. We're talking more than normal, where it was we're just going to pass the ball back to Kyrie and Luka kind of thing. Yeah. So walk me through what happens in the first quarter with the Mavericks up 1, even though the Mavericks shot pretty well.
So those first several minutes, the Mavericks were as crisp as I have seen them, I guess probably since Game 5 against Minnesota. Very locked in. The first play of the game was a specific set to get Kyrie open, and he was aggressive getting to the rim. And the first several shots were one of two of Kyrie or Luka taking someone off the dribble, creating mismatches, and then they were also disrupting Boston on the other end. They were locked in. It was one of those things that you see them, if you watch the Mavericks night in and night out, that was the Mavericks that you've been used to watching. And I said to myself, like, oh, this is the game. This is, a lot was made in the last 2 days, especially, but then earlier today about Porzingis not being available or the injury and whether he would be available or not. Just before the game, it was official that he wasn't going to be. And that was the opening that the Mavericks maybe needed. And they were very, very aggressive up top. To Boston's credit, they sort of took that and just sort of took the shot to the mouth and settled in like a good team does. Whereas I think probably in previous series, as we saw a couple of times, but especially against the Clippers and against the Timberwolves, it would allow for the Mavericks to just kind of set a tone for the rest of the game, even if it stayed kind of close. So you were seeing Kyrie as you've seen him against really the Clippers and the Timberwolves again. He was making a point to get into the lane. He looked comfortable in his shots. He was hitting things from all over the floor. But, after all of that, like you pointed out, it was a 1-point game after the first quarter. And I don't even know that I could. It feels like there were 7 different games within the game tonight. And so it's hard to look back at that first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that was, and say, what did Boston start doing then outside of not panicking? But the one thing that I think was different after those first few minutes and where the Mavericks saw that lead go away was there was a stretch right after all of that where Luka was trying to get his outside shot going. So he was working mismatches, getting Al Horford mainly in isolation. And rather than taking him off the dribble, he was taking step back threes and he was doing some other things to open up the rest of the floor. And he missed, I think, 5 or 6 shots in a row, not in a row in terms of possessions, but his own field goal attempts where it was just he was hunting for an outside shot that wasn't there. And then when he sat, the Mavericks couldn't do anything offensively.
Yeah.
That became the biggest warning sign, I guess, was that there was just early on in the game, outside of Kyrie scoring, there just wasn't much being generated when Luka was on the bench, and Luka can't play 48 minutes.
So I'm watching, and then I get home and I'm watching most of the hello feedback. Can you mute yourself when I'm chatting? I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback from you.
Okay.
It's funny. We're teasing Jordan because he couldn't find his mic when he said he's an audio snob himself. So I'm watching the second quarter, and the Mavericks played okay. A lot of the Luka missed a lot of tough middies, which he hit in the first half last game. He just didn't have. God, Luka was a +9 in this series. That's crazy in this game. God, him and Lively and Green were the only plus players on the team. Anyhow, so you're watching the second quarter, and they give and they take. They give and they take. There's not much of a lead either. And so the Mavericks walk into halftime with the 51-50 lead. I think that was right. Yeah, 51, because it was kind of a low-scoring second quarter. Neither team really had much going. It was just kind of grimy is the way I would call it. Third quarter, 2 things happen at once. The tail end of the third quarter, you saw the Celtics connecting on shots that they had been missing. Like, so when Josh Bowe and I have been talking about the fact, like, all right, the Celtics just are capable of these explosions. The tail end of the third quarter was very similar to the first quarter in game 1, where the Celtics just rained threes. Their process is good, where they drive, they kick, they drive, they kick. The first part of the third quarter, the Mavericks and Celtics traded lots and lots of 2-point baskets. The Celtics actions are just really good. I have no other way to describe it other than the fact that it's like you got a roving Drew Holiday, like rolling to the basket and getting shots. You have Jaylen Brown, who'd only had 6 in the first quarter, really start to come alive, making difficult baskets. And then was the Jaylen Brown dunk in the third quarter or the start of the fourth? Like I
think that was the start of the fourth.
Okay, so sorry, still getting feedback from you, Jordan. Yeah, I don't know how. It is what it is. It's no big deal. Like this is we're shoddy, just like the Mavericks. And so I'm sitting there watching the game, and at that point, the Mavericks ended up the period up 15 or down 15. It's like, all right, my kid decides he wants to go to bed. He's tired of watching this. Don't really blame him. He's up too late anyways. He's only 8. And I go upstairs, come back downstairs. The Mavericks are down 21. And then they just make a run for the ages. And they pushed it all the way back. They never led, but they pushed it all the way back within 2. And during that period, there were a couple of bang calls that went against Luka. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Luka Doncic talk about this game. Like he gave a quote after that the refs have to be better. And this is nothing. I honestly, like, I don't feel like criticizing Luka too much in this regard. Like maybe there's another time for it, but I just don't want to do it tonight. I don't feel like the discourse. I wish he would have not fouled someone 94 feet away from the basket. That's one that sticks in my head. I don't love the call on the Jaylen Brown post up. That was his 5th foul. And I like when you hear Doris Burke say great push by Brown and then say it's not an offensive foul. I do think it was a correctly called block, but I also think had they called it a charge, they would have ruled it a charge. Do you know what I mean? Like it was the kind of bang, like his 6th foul was the kind of bang thing that, I hate having replay for because we just stare at it and look at it over and over and over again. There's lots of people in the chat saying you just don't foul out a superstar with 4 minutes left. I tend to agree, guys. Adam Silver didn't want that. I promise you. But when you commit fouls, it's going to happen. So,
yeah. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Is that better? Yeah.
I don't think we're getting feedback on your. No, now it's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was trying to, in the middle of that review or the challenge, I was trying to think back on like what were the other 6 fouls. The 5th foul, I didn't agree with much either. I mean, it was, my issue with the 6th foul was that there was so much of that game where both teams are just tackling each other. So,
yeah.
I like the new style of play that the NBA has decided midseason to transition to or move to, and it's obviously worked in the Mavericks' favor for the back half of the season and into the playoffs. They play a physical style of play. But what happens in these games is because the officials can't call a foul every single play, is that then now they're picking and choosing which plays and what degree of contact constitutes a foul. There were multiple times. There was a dunk that Jason Tatum had that someone was grabbing his arm and it wasn't a foul. And you can see the players on the floor all turn.
I thought I heard a whistle too. I know which one you're talking about.
And they're like, oh, I guess we're just going to keep playing. That happens almost every game right now. And so to call that 6th foul in that moment, like, do you want that to happen in a game? No, you probably don't want to have that happen in a game. The loose ball 2 minutes before that, where Jaylen Brown and Luka both like dove and tackled each other, was a no call. So like that's where you start to look back and say, okay, what are we whistling and what are we not? And in that moment, it feels like a a robbery of what the game was turning into, which was a really exciting finals game, which is what
Sure.
you'd want
Sure.
to have. The referees aren't in charge of making the games exciting. And Luka, I guess, he needs to be smarter in that moment to say, like, I know I have 5 fouls. It's possible I get called here, but
yeah, like there was one really interesting play. Like Luka takes it all the way up where he's getting absolutely dry humped by Xavier, or no, by Jaylen Brown the whole way up, like bodying, cross-checked, armed, hitting him from behind.
Yeah.
No call. Don't mind like that. And then he goes into Xavier Tillman and takes a really tough floater. Tillman plays great defense on him and he misses. And Luka gets mad at that. And it's like the foul call actually happened about 15 seconds prior, and the refs just didn't call it. It's not the one there. And so it's like, I mean, that part, like the foul part of it, I never like talking about the fouls. I never like talking about the refs. And I don't think that was a decision point in the game because the Celtics don't get up by 21 by refs. They get up by 21 by playing great defense. The Mavericks couldn't hit their shots. And the Mavericks went on just enough of a run to make it interesting. Luka fouls out with 4 minutes left. Kyrie Irving doesn't have enough. PJ Washington continues his truly baffling quasi-crunch time decision-making, even though that offensive foul by him was fucking garbage. Like, I know I just said I don't want to talk about the refs, but you watch that on replay, and, like, we're going to talk about Doris Burke a little later specifically, but, like, the things that come out of the announcers' mouths in these situations where there's just a really bad call and they don't know what to say, that's where it's really, really funny. I don't know, guys.
It feels frustrating in the moment because it seems to happen in key stretches where all of a sudden the whistle, works against you. The truth is, overall, the Mavericks have been outmatched for large portions of the games. Mm-hmm. And they are working from behind often. What I have wanted was for them to play well, even if they're going to lose, and then give a fight. And it was really discouraging at the beginning of the fourth quarter to see them really just bend over and let whatever Boston wanted to do happen. And to their credit, they turned things around. I don't know what was said in that timeout that suddenly got them relocked in, and they benefited from Boston kind of playing with their food a little bit and allowing the Mavericks to get back into the
game. That's just what happens to the Celtics. Like if you listen to any of their fans, they're going to be like so I mean, anyway, we can. I don't really want to talk about the refs anymore. So the Mavericks just they just didn't have enough there in the end. They close out the game. They lose 106-99. Mavericks down 0-3. This is kind of an all she wrote sort of thing. I mean, no teams come back from this. Like, I don't want to sit here and say it couldn't happen because, of course, at some point in time in the history of all these things, it will happen. But it is what it is. Like, I watched this game, and there are things. We're almost halfway through the show. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and then we're going to talk about some of this other stuff. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I know it's not fun after a loss. Appreciate the people who are here from YouTube and Twitter. Hang around after this show. We'll post a secondary show if anybody wants to come vent, get out their thoughts and feelings. Got my man Bobby in the chat asking me to talk more about the refs. Shout out to Bobby. And we'll hang out and talk a little more basketball in group therapy. And then we can all go to sleep and maybe hope that the Mavericks play with a little bit of pride and try to steal one on Friday. So now I'm going to insert some ads. And then those of you listening on the audio show the next day, if you are listening, please don't skip through those. That's how Josh and I make a little bit of money. Then I will be right back. Okay, so we talked a little bit in pre-show, and then I just put the kibosh on it because I didn't want to give it away for the show. I think the thing that most fans, past any referee talk, I think the thing that most fans are going to talk about is that Tim Hardaway got inserted into the lineup. Tim Hardaway, who, and this is really, really important, guys. Tim Hardaway last hit a shot on my 40th birthday party on May 18th. We're coming up Like it has been 24 days since Tim Hardaway hit a shot in a game, and he continued to not hit shots as he played 19 useless minutes where he was a negative 16 on the floor. The Mavericks were outscored nearly a point a minute with him on the floor. Things got so bleak at one point in the third quarter that Jason Kidd ran a lineup that featured Tim Hardaway, Maxi Kleber, and Josh Green. I thought I was watching the pre-deadline Mavericks. It was painful. Now, the flip side of that, what the hell are they supposed to do? What do you think?
Yeah, so the folks at Moneyball, we were talking about it before Tim really made an entrance tonight, and then again later in the game about the using him or Maxi, or I guess for that matter, Josh Green or anyone else, it's troubling. It was troubling that in a game like this, where everything's on the line, that Kidd is using lineups, is experimenting with lineups. Really, it felt like experimenting. And I guess that's really just like, you're throwing the pasta on the wall and seeing what sticks, and saying someone's got to do something, someone's got to get hot, and if not, then we have to revert back. What I didn't pick up on, or I guess first what I will say is, Jaden Hardy played early in the game, very early. And then he missed his only attempt, and he didn't really do anything, but was on the floor early, which I thought was odd, because he hasn't played a lot of early minutes in this series. And then he used Dante Exum. Exum, I thought, was relatively fine, though. If you look at the box score, he was 3 minutes, he was a -4. That's not great. But he did have somehow a highlight reel dunk in that 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm curious about using Hardaway to that extent, other than you feel like maybe he gets hot from
He's
three.
got to get hot, but
that
it's
goes
not
happening.
But
it
that
isn't
goes
happening.
That goes against what we had talked about in the first quarter, which really felt like the predetermined notion of Kyrie and Luka are going to shoot the ball 25 times each.
Right.
So why is the gunner? And like, I tell you what, man, there was a shot there. Like, I need to go look at the game log, but he took a baseline jumper at a horrible point in that run. And I think it was after Luka was out. So it's like
I think it was right after that.
And I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Let me go find this, because this was bad.
So what's interesting is that I sort of felt like he was not that bad defensively. He was very engaged defensively on ball.
He tries hard. He does.
And he brought an energy. And so I was sort of like, well, I guess if he's not going to hit a shot, maybe he's just he's going to at least provide some sort of resistance from someone dribbling the ball into the lane. But you can't go 0 for 5.
No.
Making the money he is making coming off the bench, you can't go 0 for 5. I felt coming into the series, the Mavericks were at least level with Boston in terms of depth. Boston, for as good as they are, didn't present themselves as a particularly deep team. And if you look at you want to look at just points, the Mavericks outscored the bench for Boston. Now they're without Porzingis, but they outscored Boston's bench had 12 points, and the Mavericks bench had 16 points.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's good. But Xavier Tillman in his 11 minutes was +9.
Really good.
And
really
Sam Hauser in his 14 minutes was +16.
On the road, no less. Two guys showing up on the road.
And Hauser hit 3 threes, but Xavier Tillman only scored his one basket, which was also a 3. But if you are having to rely on bench to give you just a little bit, which is basically what both teams are asking of their benches at this point. Outside of Lively, who played well tonight and had 11 points and 13 rebounds in 30 minutes, he was back to his old self, which was fantastic to see. And over again, it is wild that a rookie center for Dallas is playing at the level that he continues to play at, even though he had two, below average games to start the series. But Kidd, the fact that it was a must-win game and he didn't have it just wasn't, you can't experiment, or that's really a tell at how bad the situation is if he feels like I don't have a sense of what's going to work.
If Tim Hardaway is the solution, then what the fuck is the question?
Yeah, it's he would have looked, so Kidd would have looked like a genius if Tim would have hit 2 threes.
Sure.
He would look like a genius. Yeah. But he has not. I mean, I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that he's gonna that Friday could be Tim's last game in Dallas.
Oh, Tim is always in forever. I don't believe they can trade him. He's just going to be part. He's going to come with the furniture. We're going to have to hear his father make dumb shit comments.
Yeah, I don't want to get. I'm not going to control your podcast here, and there's still at least one more game to be played, but maybe more. Right. So there's no reason to look toward off-season stuff, but it does. Seeing him back in the lineup brings back the question of, and that's what I said to you before you went live here, was what you saw tonight and what you've seen in this series is we need at least a seventh person here, a sixth or seventh person that we can rely on in these situations.
Sure.
And right now that's not Tim. Maybe it's one of these other guys that's on the bench, but it doesn't feel like it right now. And so, you said, I don't know that they could trade him. They may just have to eat the cost. They've gotten rid of other players in the past when it didn't necessarily benefit them in the actual move.
Right.
Or they've had to overpay to get rid of them or just eat the money on it. They may be at that point. Tonight may have been the final sentence on that. I don't know. But it's disappointing that you can't find someone, that your coach doesn't know who on the bench in this moment can provide you at least 10 minutes. I mean, I don't know why Hardaway played 19 minutes outside of the fact that he came in after Luka fouled out again. But
yeah, this is a hilarious. I mean, one of the things I think that is the correct takeaway from this series beyond, so it's like, if you admire the Celtics 3-point shooting, I get it. But I think much more valuable to the Celtics offensive structure is having 4 to 5 guys who can reasonably attack off the bounce. Does that make sense? So it's the ability to dribble and drive and not piss yourself is pretty valuable in what the Celtics are doing. And they just kept getting inside, obviously, like Tatum starts the thing and puts them in rotation and then puts the Mavericks into rotation. And that's a challenge, but it's like when your dump off man is Drew Holiday, pretty good. Whereas PJ, I like PJ. PJ's been an outstanding addition. But when PJ gets the ball on the move, do you ever feel like supremely confident? It's just a different level, because it's like, it could be a good thing. It could be one of those instances where right before the half, where he somehow doesn't pass the ball on a 3-on-1 situation after a loose ball scrum and gets fouled and misses 1 of 2, or the previous possession before that, where he gets kind of trapped out on the wing. Luka was up top by himself. PJ couldn't see him. And it's just those minor, and this, again, I don't mean this as like a high level PJ criticism. Like, the Celtics were swarming. They did a great job. That's not, I want to give more credit to the Celtics than to say PJ is a problem. But it's that level of decision-making where you're able to make a crisp read on a drive and find a guy like that. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, the structure of the Celtics offense.
Mhm.
This is an off-season conversation for you guys, but like the Mavericks aren't going to have the Celtics offense because
No.
the Mavericks have two players who work so well within the structure that they've built, right? So they need a third. Do they need a third person at least that can attack off the dribble? Yes.
That's just
Having
more guys.
having a fourth would even be better. But I don't know that the offense in Boston or in Dallas is ever going to look like what Boston has designed here, and some of that's because Luka and Kyrie are so good with the ball in their hands, and some of it's for other reasons. But this series, Boston's defense has been so sound along the perimeter that it has reduced Dallas's offense into being what it was the last several years.
Yeah.
Which was extremely isolation heavy and really just relying on Luka and Kyrie to create all of it. And you know, PJ has, I think he's averaged something like 14 points per game here in the finals, but there's just not there's not something else that they can turn to, and there's not a structure to the offense that isn't just playing off that high screen. And when you have a defense, this Boston defense is built so well to defend what Dallas does well offensively that they've run into a brick wall. Yeah. I would have felt doubly confident in the Mavericks facing just about any other team in the NBA in this finals, and them having more than a puncher's chance to win it.
Sure.
But now seeing what Boston does, it's just, I haven't, it was somewhere in game 1 or 2 that I had this thought in my head that Boston's offense and defense is basically like the adult physical version of what the Thunder are. They're just like 5 years behind. The way that, outside the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is so good in isolation as well, and pretty much gets to whatever mid-range shot he wants. So much of what the Thunder wanted to do was this drive and kick style that Boston's doing right now, and playing this spread 5 out style, and then defensively the same way, that they have switchable defenders 1 through 4, but nearly 1 through 5. It's just that Boston's the advanced version of that. So it's really no surprise that the Thunder were the toughest test that the Mavericks faced prior to this series. And now they're facing a future version of what that Thunder team is. And it's given them fits, and it has reduced everything into this isolation style that really just depends on Luka and Kyrie doing all of it. I mean, if you would have told me that they combined for what, 62 points, something like that. And realistically, had Luka not fouled out, it would have been more than that, obviously. But if you'd have told me that, I would have said they probably won. It feels like it's inches that each inch becomes a mile, and that's been every single game this series, especially 2 and 3. Yep.
Well, and the last thing I want to talk about, and I'm just going to talk about it for a second, and then we'll kick off to the next show. Like, I tend to like really waffle on and off about whether I have any color commentator on, just because, number one, I think 3-man booths can be a little bit too rowdy. I sometimes don't listen to the Mavs ones just because I want to have my own interpretation of what I'm seeing. Like, I want to watch it without being colored by some outside influence. I also don't, but the Doris Burke Boston love is so weird. Can we at least can we as a society come together and acknowledge the fact that she like reminds me of who's that chef who yells at everyone?
Gordon Ramsay?
She gives me like Gordon Ramsay vibes, where it's like everything the Mavs do, it's like, oh man, it's just such an ISO heavy team, not like acknowledging at all that like, the Celtics are forcing the Mavericks to play this way. The Mavericks are not this ISO heavy. But then it's like every time the Mavericks would do something good, she would have something to say about how fucking good the Boston Celtics fans, or about how good the Boston play was, despite what the Mavericks did. And it's like on the Luka sixth offensive foul. I'm sorry, the block call on the floor. She literally says Brown with a great push.
Like, yeah, she did say that. I think she meant pushing the ball, and she said a bat. Okay. I think she misspoke.
Maybe because you're right. That interpretation of it is a lot more.
She kind of then like paused, and then I think she said something about like pushing the pace, or she said
it was
something.
just something like I'm watching during this 20-2 run. And my guy in the Jeffist says, I don't think the commentary is something really to focus on. As the Mavericks are going on a 20-2 run, we're talking about how fucking great the Celtics are. That happened a lot. Go listen to the commentary again. It was really funny. And like, it is what it is. It's not like it affected the game none. The option is for me to mute, which is what I would have done had I been able to find my remote, which I could not.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
It's just something that was like on the tip of my. I'm like watching this.
It's
really weird.
I'm a Doris Burke fan, and I like what she does, and I think it's great for the game. And obviously when your team is losing and losing
right,
3 games
salt. There's
in a row,
a little more.
It starts
salt.
to feel a little like heavy, even from JJ Redick as well. There was, it just felt like, okay, like we get it. Boston's the best team in the league. Like that's fine. But I will say that there's been an adoration from the broadcast team that feels forced in some ways. Even when, Jason Tatum was great tonight offensively, but
sure.
the PR campaign that's been rolling for him throughout,
dude, he was
the
still
whole
11
series,
of 20. He was 11 of 26.
And
how does he keep
3?
How does he keep doing this? This is the best. Like, granted, he was quite amazing. So I'm not.
Yeah, he was good
I
tonight.
didn't know he was that. But, like, he once again shot 40%. I wouldn't have known had I gone.
Yeah. So there's a volume of, and that happens with these big market. I guess Dallas is a larger market too, but these big market like coastal teams, like there's a media frenzy for them because the fan base is so big and so responsive, and so it just naturally skews that way. It has been frustrating to watch the games and listen to.
Like the Celtics are good, and so it's like when you're getting your ass beat in probably 2 out of 3 games, elements of 2 out of 3 games, it feels a little worse. So maybe it's on me for being.
I guess maybe what it is, it feels like they're trying to sell us on how good they are, when it's just like, we
don't
get
need
it.
this.
They keep winning. Like we know they're good.
The bank shot from Derek White, where I just like started cackling as I'm sitting there going, well, this ain't happening.
The fact that they've had it was a 3-point game, was it not, when he hit that?
The bank shot?
Yes. That banked in 3.
I thought that was the one that put him up 15. I can't remember. That just tells you how many damn threes that team hits.
I swear there was a shot that he hit when it was a close game that was like a bank shot where it was like, okay, this is still within reach. And it was, last game, it was Peyton Pritchard hitting the 3 from half court at the buzzer when it was a 6-point game.
Okay. The Mavericks are, it was a long, what was it? So Brown makes a tip shot off an offensive rebound when the Mavericks were down by 1. And then Derek White hits a 3-pointer to put him up 6. That's the one you're thinking.
Yes. So it was a 3-point game. And when that happens that many times, where it's like, okay,
I've been on the other side of this. I watched Jason Terry do this. I watched like PJ Washington do this. Like,
yeah.
And honestly, it's like, so it's one of the funnier parts about the series where it's just like, I didn't know how, like, if you're not an Eastern Conference watcher, the Derek White is the guy who I'm walking away from this series going, shit. How did don't be mad at the Bucks for getting rid of Drew. Be mad at the Spurs for sending this team Derek White. Like, fuck you, Spurs. Anyhow. Well, all right. I'm going to progress to the next show. Thank you so much for taking part of your evening to hang out with me. So
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll be back here after this, guys. I'm gonna thank some of my super chats. My man Henry, he says, "What in God's name did I THJ getting more minutes than Derek Jones Jr. when he got all these DMP?"
We didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy one. More minutes there. Irregular says, "I think momentum shifted when Kidd decided to put Hardy and Maxey in up 12 in the first." Ooh, that's a good take. PC says Luka cannot play for Slovenia this summer. Nope. Well, they have to go through the qualifiers, so I don't know what the margin for error is for Slovenia there. Bobby Chapman says Luka will play for the Slovenians, and I will hate watching the USA. My man Glenn says, "Thanks, Kirk and Josh. It's been a great year." It's not over yet, Glenn, and I don't think I changed a thing with this team, but we will be better next year. Well, leaves a comment and says, "If you take away the one good game versus the Thunder where Tim scored 17 points, this playoffs he scored 29 points in 143 minutes with his last basket coming May 18th. Oh, Tim Hardaway, my goodness. This is a great question. Michael Scott says, "Kirk, why are you wearing Miami Heat red?" Because I was coaching a team that wore red jerseys. Bobby Chapman says, "Doris misspeaks a lot for someone who is paid to talk." That's pretty funny. So do I, to be fair. And he also says, "Do the Maverick unleash lively corner threes next game?" Like, I just want to see a lively three, like in the wild. That's just where I'm landing.
It's definitely happening next season. I can tell you that.
That's what I'm here for. Okay, guys, hang around. If you're on the live stream, everybody else who is listening on the audio, I'll be posting this one probably on Thursday afternoon. Everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. Jordan, you're the best. Go Mavs. Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Mavericks Group Therapy. It is just after 11 o'clock. The Dallas Mavericks fell in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. They are now 0-3. One losing to the Boston Celtics 106-99 in a really... I don't even know what kind of game I would qualify this. It was very painful. So if you would like to come talk about the game with me, I've posted a StreamYard link in the YouTube comments where you can click on and you can come talk basketball with me. You don't necessarily have to show your face. You can join from your phone. You can join from your computer if that's your thing. We will hang out until people don't want to talk anymore. And so far, even though it's the NBA Finals, it's looking like we may not have very many people to talk at all. Coming up first is my guy, Sam. Sam, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining after a loss. How you doing? Give Sam a second.
You're doing as well as you can be after.
You're here. Go for it, Sam.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that sucked. First of all, let me just say this. I don't want to talk about, we're going to be the first team to come back from 3-0. I don't even care no more. I don't want to get swept, so I would love them to at least win a game. That'd be nice. That would be really nice. But I'm really disappointed in Luka. And I know, let me say this. Obviously, we wouldn't be here because if it wasn't for Luka. He's been great this whole place. For his standards, he actually hasn't been as great, but still been the man. But today was just, damn. I don't know what to say. I don't know if anybody says anything to him, but I know he's hurt. I get it. He has 20 different things going on. He's out there trying. He's busting his ass. But a lot of these plays, man, this defense it's bad.
Yeah.
It's like this place where he's not boxing down and he's pointing at other guys. I'm like, bro, that is your guy. What are you doing? Why are you pointing at us when you're not guarding? When you're not boxing out Drew Holiday, he's getting offensive rebounds. Like, what are you doing? It's bad.
You know,
It's actually disappointing because
I understand why you feel that way. I think I'm going to process my thoughts on this a little more and probably wait to kind of consider the whole of Luka as opposed to just this game. I don't want to justify any of the kind of plays that he was making tonight that weren't up to par for a superstar. But I also don't want to tell you that you're wrong. It's a difficult balance to strike with him because I think that this finals, yes, we know he's hurt, guys. I'm not gonna, or he's hurting, whatever you want to call it. But I think every layer of the playoffs gets harder and harder and harder, more specific. You learn more things. I still think that there are levels for him to get to preparation wise, whether it's strength, speed, overall like cardiovascular stuff. That sort of stuff is he looked so tired in this game, and the tiredness led to mistakes. The mistakes led to frustration, and the frustrations led to a few plays, which if you were to watch this, you wonder if he wishes he had back, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that 100%. Like I said, it's not a matter of, I'm pretty sure he wants to play his best, obviously. I mean, he's not going out there and just laying down. He's not giving a F. He's trying. I definitely believe that, but a lot of the shots, because a lot of his shots today, he was getting in the paint. I won't say easily, but he was getting to the paint. He was just missing. And
yeah, like really, and we're talking like the 8-footers. We're talking like the 8-footers that were front rimming. Like that was tough. That was tough.
Yeah, and then you get the game. Obviously, Jason's game, and the third quarter just can't happen. Like you came back in the fourth, but I was putting it on Twitter. It's like, until they actually win the game, it's a fake comeback because I didn't believe they were going to get over the hump. And then after Luka fouled out, and I don't even want to talk about Tim Hardaway, like whatever, it is what it is. I wasn't even mad at it because I felt like you had to have some type of shooting, so maybe he could do something. But once he missed like his first 2 or 3 shots, I was like, that's it, just get him out the game. It's not going to work. And the fact that you're back and after Luka fouled out is really key. But again, whatever. Don't care. Yep. Let's just not get swept. Just win a game on Friday, and then cool. If y'all get beaten 5, you have your lesson. You learn. Dirk didn't win his first finals. LeBron didn't win his first finals. A lot of players don't win their first finals. So, hell, the Celtics didn't win their first finals. Jason Tatum and them. So, you just got to live and hope you can get back. So, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, man. Talk soon. Thanks for hanging out.
No problem.
All right. Coming up next is Rain. Rain, how's your Australian day going so far?
Oh, I've got a good rest of my day to stew on this.
Right.
It's 2 p.m. If our other Australian friends in here, I think he's in Perth. He's got another hour or so behind me to deal with this bullshit. I probably shouldn't be here because at this moment I do not fucking believe one bit. At this point, I see enough for them to potentially not get swept, but just not a shot on how that they can do this. And extra disappointing is without KP, it feels like I missed almost all of the good runs that they had except for the fourth quarter. I missed half of the first quarter. So
they didn't really have runs. They just kind of played back and forth like the Celtics, and then the Celtics like buried them in the third.
What I mean is that that lead that they had in the first quarter, I basically saw that get blown away.
Yeah.
And then I saw the second quarter, third quarter, and 2.5 quarters of just shit. Poor decision making, poor defensive plays. Like the problem is Luka is never going to be a good primary on-ball defender. That's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
If there's not someone who isn't an all-star level offensive player, both being able to dribble, shoot, and attack the basket, the Celtics just have too many people who could potentially attack him. Because from what we've seen up until this, if there's someone who isn't an elite offensive player, he can guard them, even if they're not terrible on offense. He can do something. But
I mean, he's
against the
strong.
Celtics,
He's strong enough to guard guys. The lateral quickness, I firmly believe he's also quick enough laterally and smart enough to do some of the guarding. He needs to actually be in the kind of mental place and cardio place where he can do it, where he can sustain. Like James Harden was so bad in his first couple of years with the Rockets, because he never was really able to play defense and he had to carry such a big load offensively. Again, if like Luka's going to play a really big offensive load, he has to be in the just like the cardio shape to where it never phases him and where he can take the defensive hits. It's not fair. It seems superhuman to ask that, but that's like, if he's going to be attacked like that, then that's where he's at. I mean, I also think that he is pretty haggard and worn down right now.
100%. Like, we do have to acknowledge if he's getting injections. Okay, I'm a paramedic, so if someone's getting injections as a form of pain relief, that's a big red flag to me. So, on top of that, if this is the condition that he's in, he should not be playing for Slovenia in the offseason. Now he will. We all know.
Yeah, but
that
I mean, if he's in this kind of shape, like, but how far they can go, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to dunk on Slovenia's chances, but like qualifiers are ruthless.
Oh,
So-
exactly. But with the level of national pride that he has, there's no way he won't try.
Yeah.
And the problem is I had been going into this playoffs going, look, even if no matter how far we make it next year, this team, as it is currently constructed, if they can keep Derek Jones Jr., could be a top 3 seed in the West next season.
Mm-hmm.
If they have this year, if they have a little bit of better injury luck, they could have been a top 3 seed very easily as well. If Luka goes into this offseason, pushes himself even further, he's going to come in, be super slow, and probably not look like shit for a little bit at the start of the next season, and that's a not positive swing. And this is also how you know how dejecting this game is. I haven't touched Fanspo since the trade deadline. I was like, this is brilliant. Nico, what you've done is brilliant. There's no point for me even to look. This game, I was thinking about my Fanspo trades halfway through the game. And that it's not a good headspace to be in. Now, something that, because I missed part of that first quarter, can you tell me why they weren't going to Derek Lively and PJ Washington pick and rolls? Why that wasn't a big factor in this game?
Because I think every time PJ dribbles the ball, it becomes it becomes an adventure.
I meant Daniel Gafford. Sorry. I mixed them up. I mean, why has there not been as much pick and roll when?
Because they just switch it all. I mean, like if you switch Jason Tatum onto like off of Luka and onto Lively, it's a different wingspan element. Like it doesn't. There's just not the there's not the airspace to get him the ball. I mean, the Celtics have like 4 or 5 guys on the floor that have a lot of wingspan, so it's tough.
Mm-hmm. It is tough, but at some point they have to try something. And from what I've seen from the have been trying, that wasn't working. And we saw Lively in the second half, in the fourth, Lively had some good plays. So I thought that potentially that could be there's got to be some way that they can organize a double screen or some sort of drag screen or something where they can organize to get Lively on someone who's not, or Daniel Gafford on someone who's not Jason Tatum, and keep Tatum on Luka, because I think Luka can beat Tatum. But again, it's all in the past. Look, this team's not coming back down from winning the next 4. That's just not going to happen. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's got to go. He's going to be the primary in my trade. And look, he doesn't have a lot of trade value, but he is an expiring contract. So who knows? Sure. Maybe they can find themselves their own Derek White or someone. They doubt it, but Hey, and Nico we trust, I suppose, at this point.
We'll see, man.
It's at this point, I just don't know what much there is to say. It's things suck.
All right. Well, I'm gonna head out. Thanks so much, Rain. Talk soon.
No,
All
see ya.
right. Sarah, welcome to the show. Sarah, if you're there, hit that unmute button. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
It's been better, been worse.
Yeah, same. Calling from Dallas, where I was not able to get tickets, but now I'm kind of glad I didn't pay $1,000 to watch that.
That would have been upsetting. I watched some woman on Twitter today was advertising tickets for $2,400, and she kept having to lower her prices. And it's like I would have been so mad to pay a gajillion dollars to go to that game.
Yeah, and I was initially the first quarter. I was like, "Oh man, I can't believe I'm missing this right now. This is awesome. They're on." I am always entirely too optimistic in the first quarter, and that's my downfall.
No, I get it.
I'm a relatively new fan to NBA, casual watcher, and I used to play basketball in high school, so I know a little bit about it. But it's a whole different world of fandom. Lots of angry people all the time. Getting accustomed to that.
The internet is not a great place for it, and that's partially why I do this show, because it's like I think you should be able to talk about these things without like outright screaming at one another, because it's like if you were at a sports bar and you see some strangers like when you want to talk about the game with them, are you like screaming at them or are you talking to them? And
right,
like that's
we need to all have the attitude that we're sitting down having a beer together.
That's right. And people just get mad. Part of me gets it. It's like you spend so much time in this, and it's like, and I waffle back and forth depending on how my day is going, but it's just like, okay, all right, let's lighten up a little bit. There's always going to be somebody with something sassy to say, and it's a matter of do you want to have a conversation, or do you want to be an asshole? Like that's just kind of what it comes down to.
And the block button is your best friend. So on Twitter, that's just something you got to do.
Right. And just a reminder to the folks in the YouTube chat right now, like if you don't like interacting with somebody that you're seeing on this YouTube chat, like you can block them. I don't really block people on the YouTube chat, with the one exception of like people that come in here specifically to like be beyond trolls. Like I blocked a overseas account where he's like, Luka never passed to Dirk. Luka's a bad guy. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Like that sort of stuff. I'm not, but if you're in there talking a little trash about the Mavericks and you're a Celtics fan, I don't care. Have your fun.
Yeah. So. I mean, I have my experience rooting for losing teams in other sports. So I just say, keep our chin up. It's not impossible. Stranger things have happened in this world.
Just hasn't happened yet.
I know, but you never know. Yeah. Maybe I'm paying attention this year because I'm the golden ticket. I don't know.
I love that.
I'm the lucky charm.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. You got anything else to bring?
That's it.
All right. Well, maybe see you in here in another game. Have a good one. All right.
Take it easy.
All right. Now we got my man Sudarshan. Sorry, you have started your day crappy. Well, how's it going?
Nah, I mean, it's okay. I choose to look at the positives of what is actually been a fun season, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I'm completely like burying the entire season as such, but yeah, I think we've gone off on, or we've covered the fact that Luka was not good. And I mean, Windhorst just went off on him just now on Sports Center, actually, where he completely blames him for everything, and it's hard to see that. But I mean, I don't know. The way I see it, it's probably where it's a tactical mismatch, and I don't know if Jason Kidd is able to coach around that.
No, I mean around the mismatches, like around the like that. I mean, that's how Tim Hardaway ended up on the floor. Like at a certain point, you're just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what'll stick. And I know
exactly that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I mean I mind playing him that much. I don't mind trying him.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we got positive XM minutes in this game, and I mean to a certain extent in the last game. But I mean, the fact that you see that something is not working and you continue to go with that, it felt like it was just we got Jason Kidd falling back into his worst habits, the same way we got Luka falling into his worst habits. It was just one of those games.
Yeah.
It's just sad that it happened in Game 3 of the finals. That's it. Otherwise, there's hope for next season if we remain injury free and everything like that. I think we could be we could at least look at home court in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But here's hoping at least it's not a sweep. Even if it is a sweep, I don't think it's a big deal.
I'm of two minds about it because I've gotten into the groove to where I just feel like I feel so horrible all the time because of the lack of sleep. Like somebody told me I need to start taking magnesium because my left eye is twitching because I'm just not getting good enough sleep. And so I don't really know what I would do with myself if I had free evenings. Do you know what I mean? It's sad.
There's plenty of stuff out there. There's the Euros coming up. There's plenty of sports to get excited about. I think
that's right. Well, and I made the mistake. I found myself, just because I like sports stories, I found myself after I listened to, I knew this happened, but I hadn't really learned enough about it. Yesterday, I spent a good 2 hours looking into Pakistan falling to the United States in whatever this cricket tournament is going on over here. And then I had every intention of watching India probably wax the United States this morning, but then my boss was not pleased with me, so I didn't get a chance.
You basically watched India play against their B team.
Okay. Well, what are you going to do? Well, Hey, hope you come back for Game 4. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, and shout out to the people in the comments who actually know their Hindu mythology, which is quite awesome.
The internet is such a weird place, man. All right. We'll talk soon. So great. All right. Now we got Michael coming up next. Michael, what's up, man? Michael, are you there? All right, Michael, I'm going to punch you, try to rejoin, and then I'll bring you back up next. Frank, I see you're down there also, but it says devices aren't connected, so be sure to try to come in that way. Coming up next then is my man, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hi. Hello. Hi, am I on?
Hey, you're on. How you feeling? You have seen the phrase that I would use is mad online. Your Twitter feed makes me want to talk to you to see if we can lower the temperature a little bit.
No, I've already come down. I am just kind of annoyed because I'm already seeing the discourse start. It's annoying that Luka did the Luka thing that he hasn't done since like December in Game 3 of the finals, with the barking at the refs. So obviously that you don't get back on defense and you give up a bucket. Like, that was unfortunate to see, especially at the time that it happened. I will say I'm seeing some ridiculous takes. Brian Windhorst just went on Scott Van Pelt and just gave a minute tirade about how Luka was being a baby and how the Mavericks are down 0-3 because of the Celtics being able to go at him defensively and him not carrying all that in. Brother, we haven't scored 100 points yet in this series. The Celtics haven't scored 110. The defense isn't the problem. The problem is the second and third. Oh, go ahead.
But do you? So I've not heard Windhorst yet, but I have a pretty good idea what he said.
You can guess. I'm pretty sure.
Do you think he makes any good points? Be honest.
No, not really. I think the only one that he made was about Luka getting too involved with the refs. And again, this is a conversation that we've had over and over about Luka, but this is something that he hasn't done on a consistent basis in 4 months.
He's never said anything, and he's never said it. Luka has never said anything post game about the refs that I can honestly remember, and I don't like that he started tonight. I don't like it. It is not. Look, I'm going to sort of stick on my line tonight. I don't want to really get into serious Luka criticism because I don't think the Mavericks are obviously not here if him and Kyrie aren't great. I just think that there are elements to what it just depends. Are you as a Mavericks fan content with Luka's play right now? Do you think he's the best he's going to be? Do you know what I mean?
I feel like those are two different questions. Am I content with his level of play right now? If
Mhm.
that includes the 2.5 series where he was like really locked in and dialed in defensively and also doing the offensive stuff, then yes, I am content with his level of
Okay.
play. Do I feel like he can get better? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Do I feel like he can be better with the refs? For sure. But this being the time to point that out, and I get what you're saying about like him having comments in the post game. What he said was accurate. They didn't know if they were going to be able to defend physically, and that goes for both teams.
Sure.
The whistle was bad for both teams in the last two games. The Mavericks got it like really bad, especially towards the end of the game and with the fouls he was getting called on because they just weren't consistent.
I struggle with this sort of thing because to my Mavs fans friends, I will have very spirited debates about Luka's place in all of this and what sort of criticisms are warranted and what aren't. With my non-Mavs fans friends, I will absolutely defend Luka to the death. Like it is a family type thing. Do you know what I mean? Outside the family, like we don't show. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't argue outside the family. You keep it. That's why whenever people get so fucking angry with me, whenever I say one little bad thing about Luka, it just sort of drives me crazy because it's like I have been a fan of the guy, likely just like I have the receipts. I've likely been aware of Luka longer than most people. That's okay, part of my job. It's not. It's just like all right, but. I also think about these things in the sense of if everyone that isn't a Mavs fan watches this Brian Windhorst rant, all right, and you can click on the various videos and you can go to the quote tweets and you can see, and lots and lots and lots of people agree. Is everyone else wrong? That's where I'm sitting. And I don't know how to answer this in a way without pissing everyone and their uncle off. And it's not really worth it at this point in time because they're down 0-3. And he fouled out with 4 minutes left. He missed a lot of bunnies because I think he's exhausted. And his defense was mixed bag. And but at the same time, if he doesn't score his points, the Mavericks weren't there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult because like it is very easy to swing way too far to either end of the spectrum, depending on who and when you're having the conversation. Like, I don't want to have that conversation with a Celtics fan because I'm watching these games just like y'all game, and I'm seeing Jason Tatum yell at refs and whirl his finger around like he's trying to keep an imaginary plate on top of it. Like he does it. All these stars do it. This is not exclusive to Luka. Luka will be brazen about it at times in a way that can be very grating and annoying, and he'll like be chirping pretty hard, pretty consistently on a ref when he's in one of his moods. But for the better part of the last 4 months, that hasn't really been a concern. And so to bring it back up now, when you know that the situation is, 1, he's injured, 2, he's really high strung because this is a high pressure game, 3, he's likely pretty annoyed because he didn't get any offensive assistance in the last 2 games. So people are saying, oh, well, why is he not, giving the ball? Or why are we not running any double drag? Why are we not, running any Spain pick and roll? Why are we not running any offensive sets to try and get Kyrie the ball on the catch, or like trying to get him the ball on the move, and like all these other things? Why are we not running Derrick Jones Jr. like as a screener, PJ as a screener? Why aren't we doing all these other things? It's because he didn't want to give the ball to those dudes if he didn't have to, because they shat their pants for 2 straight games when he needed them in Boston.
Yep.
And he did trust him down the stretch, and they were able to make some plays for him. But by then it was too late. He didn't need y'all then. He needed y'all 2 games ago.
Sure.
When the people in that crowd was yelling at him.
I think that's
and y'all
fair.
were getting ran out the building.
I certainly think that's fair. I mean, heavy is the crown is where I circle back to.
Yeah.
And this isn't fair. It wasn't fair in 2010 whenever Dirk was I don't know if you're even alive for this, you youth. But in 2010, during the playoffs, it became a huge story that Dirk, the Mavericks had put a private investigator on Dirk and determined that the woman that was in his life was basically an enormous scam artist.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm going to look up his stats during this run. B-ball reference, Dirk. It was 2010. I'm nearly positive when they lost to the Nuggets. I could have this wrong, but I'm still going to go take a look at this just to make sure that I'm feeling this. And as this is like happening and it's on TNT, the same TNT crew is really going after Dirk, like really uncomfortably. And it was so frustrating because you suffered through 2006 as a Mavs fan. You suffered through 2007 as a Mavs fan. It looks like it was 2009 here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was 09 because I feel like that was the year that they put that 58-point beat down on the Hornets in the next round. Yeah,
yes,
I think that was it.
And I'm looking at this, so I'm pulling up this thing. So the Mavericks lost 4-1 in this series. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read you what Dirk's stats were as this is happening, and they're just going in on him left and right about how he needs to be a better player and all this sort of stuff. He averaged 34 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, and a block. Dirk fucking Nowitzki at age 30. Okay.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. And the comments were never ending. They were not fair. This is different because some of this that's going on is a little bit self-imposed. You know, when you create a reputation for yourself, I tell my 8-year-old this all the time. I'm like, coaches aren't going to want to coach you if you scream and have meltdowns and shit like that. Nobody wants to put up with that after a certain point in time. It follows you around whether it's fair or not. And there are elements of this where, I mean, whether or not Windhorse's rant is fair or not, I heard it. I can't justify it either way. A lot of people feel this way about Luka, and the impressions, like, you have to win people over by doing it the right, like by basically by not only by winning, but then by winning a certain way. I mean, look at what Jason Tatum's dealing with. The man's shooting like 12% from the finals, and it's not good enough, even though they're up 3-0. Like, the standards are always not fair, is I guess what I'm getting at. And I don't like the discourse, but, you know, as opposed to some of the Mavs fans that are in my comments here, people are like, oh, I'm a Mavs fan, but I want to trade Luka. Guys, like, statistically, we will never have a player as good as Luka again for the rest of our fucking lives. Seriously. That's how this shit works. You get one chance in most fandoms. Sometimes you get 2. We got 2. We got Dirk. We got Luka. You're not getting somebody as good as Luka ever again. Ever again. I just, like, that's the likelihood of how this stuff works. So I just need people who are really anti-Luka at the moment to just relax and hope that he figures it out, because I have to believe that he will.
Yeah, this isn't the time to have a moment on the ledge with Luka. I had mine earlier this season where I was firmly ready to just be out, and instead of spiraling, we came back. We're in the NBA Finals. This is not the time to jump ship. I don't care how other people talk to you about what happened and how badly we lost. We didn't lose this series per se. The Boston Celtics are really, really, really
they're a great team.
Like, legendarily all-time good. 1 through like 6. This is not a team that is commonly put together. There haven't been teams like this talented throughout most of their rotation since like the 80s Celtics or the 80s Los Angeles Lakers. You don't get teams put together with this many star level players anymore. The CBA is written so that you can't really put teams like this together anymore. So that they were able to, and that they've been able to put that together and win and be pretty unselfish as a team, is just something to congratulate them for. We didn't lose to the Charlotte Hornets. We didn't lose in the first round. We made it all the way to the NBA Finals in a season where I was just hoping and praying,
that's right,
can we just win a playoff series, please?
Yeah.
Like, keep it in perspective, man.
All right. Thank you so much for hanging out and waiting.
Of course, brother. Thanks for having me.
Talk soon. All right, we got Mike and then Ryan. Mike, what's up, man?
What's up? What's up?
How you doing?
Pretty good. I just got quick comments. One, it was all Luka's fault. Like, there's not really anything. Like, it sucks to say that, but like, you're the best player on your team. and you brought this team to the finals, and we can talk about how like every role player on their side is like almost as good as you when they're playing in that role. When they talk about being a superstar in your role, like they're able to be like make as impactful plays as Luka just by playing their role. Like how many times is it that Luka will go in and score, and then fucking Derek White just hits a three that just completely nullifies it, and then no one gets like it doesn't even matter. So I don't know. It's just it sucks that this is the team that we had to pull. But honestly, I'm strangely confident too though. Like I feel like I didn't even feel bad about the loss. Like everyone else is super pissed off. I was kind of just like, all right, well, I mean, it's pretty much over. We got like a 1% chance of winning this. But fuck them, dude. Just win one game, win the next game. Mavs in 7. Kyrie's gonna make history again. Kyrie's gonna win. I'm just putting out my bets here. Kyrie's gonna win Finals MVP. He's gonna average like 45 for the rest of the series. And that's how it's gonna go. I think Luka's just like way more hurt than anyone's giving him credit for. And
I think it's a fair take. I mean, a lot of people don't like that sort of discussion whatsoever. But I mean, if you feel that way, there's like it's like, did you see him last game? He looked like he was like wrapped up in ice. It's tough, man.
I know, and if you bring it up, it seems like you just get a little snicker.
Right, you feel it's like I made my boss really mad today about something that wasn't my fault, but he ultimately, like me saying it and coming up with it, just anything I said was an excuse.
Yeah,
anything. So it's like the only solution at that point was to simply say nothing and take it on the chin.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you got to do if you're Luka. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, I'll keep it short so you can get to bed. But
it's good. I'm like I had a energy beverage at like 8, and I'm too old for that shit. So like I'm gonna be up to like 2 either way. What's going on?
I mean, you basically took the words straight out of my mouth with the Lucas stuff. Like I live out on the West Coast, so I'm like none of the people I'm around are Mavs fans, and I'm like constantly defending Luka to them. Like, no, you don't understand how good this guy is. And then, like, internally, when I'm sitting at home watching the game, I'm, like, yelling at the TV the entire time about, like, stop yelling at the refs, stop taking some of these step-back threes, etc. But, I don't know, the stuff with, like, the blaming the refs after the game, like, he's been so good about that his entire career. Of like,
he's never done – I don't really remember him ever doing it.
Never.
Ever.
There's been, like, 2 times when he had, like, a bad PR moment, which was, like, after the Suns game with the fan sitting courtside, and then tonight, pretty much. And he's normally so good about that. But – And you're totally right. Like, some of the criticism he's going to get is going to be unfair, but like, I think he's the best player in the world. I'm sure a ton of Mavs fans also think he's the best player in the world. And like, if you're going to be that level of player, then like sometimes you're going to get some ridiculous criticism. Yeah. But I don't know. I was pretty at peace with the Mavs. I was like texting people. I was like, it's all right. Like, Celtics are like an amazing team. Like, they could be different series result, but you know what? Like, the better team won. And then they went on that run and get it down to 3. And then I was prepared for them to go down 3-0, but not prepared for them to go down 3-0 with Tim Hardaway Jr. closing the game and Luka sitting on the bench. It was just not how I thought tonight was going to go. But I don't know. I've been listening to this podcast for like 5 years now. I've been on the live show twice. This is the second time. And last time was immediately after the Mavs lost Brunson in free agency.
Oh.
And it was pretty bleak then. And the big thing was like, well, you know, they have limited avenues to improve, but you just got to hope. I think I always said that, like, you just have to hope that, like, Jaden Hardy turns into something. And
yeah.
That hasn't even happened, and we're in the finals now, and Derek Lively's potential blows.
He was great this game. I didn't talk about that enough in the recap show. He was great.
Yeah, and, like, if you're looking for a bright spot for the Mavs, like, they're literally in the finals after missing the playoffs last year, missing the play-in, and Derek Lively's ceiling is legitimately, like, Rudy Gobert light. Well, not even light, like a defensive player of the year level defense, while like still being an amazing rim runner. So the future, I'm trying not to be too sad about it. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I appreciate you waiting. Thanks for hanging out. All right.
Thanks, Kirk.
All right. Coming up next after Ryan, we have Frank. Frank, man, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, dude? Oh man, it's hard to try to add anything of substance when we're covering everything. But that Wendy piece, that was, and he eviscerated our guy, man, on the television.
Yeah. Well,
I agree with most of it, honestly. I'm very objective. In my Twitter bio, it's go Mavs, go Rangers, go Stars, go Cowboys. Like, you're not gonna find a bigger fan than me. Like, we're all in this room right now. We're all super passionate, but I'm also, I'm with you. We don't want to destroy Luka, on the timeline, because it's like you said, it's family, right? You reprimand him private, you praise him public, type thing. But man, the guy, my biggest thing with him is, granted, let me a qualify or to preface, we're not here without him. Let's be real. Like, we're in the finals, but I just question his commitment, man. It's still kind of, at what point, man? Like, we're in the finals. Like, to me, if next year, we're not seeing like legitimate, like, if he's not putting out some of these fires that are building about his reputation, man, it's like it's a real question.
Stuff sticks with you, right?
Yeah, but I'm just questioning his commitment. It's like, the guy's doesn't come in. He doesn't come in this. I think every offseason we come in and say, "Oh, Luka looks better." I think he looks the same every fucking year. I don't think he's ever. I'm so sick of it. Like, he doesn't.
I have access to a lot of the Getty photos and like Getty high quality stuff, and like you can just like with some of the things I can see, I will say that this playoffs run, he actually looks pretty great.
I guess we'll just have we'll just agree to disagree. I'm sorry, man. I just don't.
Okay, well, I mean, but there have been times when things were not the best.
Yeah,
and like but it's very different than like the time the guy came on. Do you remember when the guy came on my show and was like, "Yeah, I'm a bartender in Memphis, and the whole team was in my bar last," and that was I'm pretty sure, I could be mixing my stories, but that was the day where Luka played awful in Memphis the next day, but then hit that running floater three-pointer.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to add something of substance. We're almost an hour and a half into this, but I'm talking. I have a 16-year-old, 14-year-old son. All they do is game, dude. They play all these games where you get ranked and all that. And it was funny whenever Luka posted that top 500 in the world type thing, and you're like, where's it going with this? Like, my son, my 16-year-old son, he's like, do you know how many fucking hours you have to play at that game? Like, that means he's gaming, or he's.
I've not wanted to touch that with a.
He's going to his hotel. He's after a game. He's going back to his hotel room and he's grinding into the fun. Like, he's saying it takes so many.
It does.
Like, it's ungodly amount of, like, that's what he's doing in his spare time, dude.
Well, now,
and I get it. He's 25. He's coming up.
At least he's not
I'm
at the
35.
bars.
He's 25. Sure. I'm not even hating on him. The fact that he's so good at basketball and he grinds so hard at something else is like,
it's very funny.
It's cool, man. And I'm just shooting shit now, dude.
Oh yeah, but I've really wanted to, because Josh Bowe and I play a ton of video games ourselves, and I've really wanted to touch it, but I've been afraid to, because it's like, when you explain to someone just how much time you play these things in order to get, like, not only get good, but get ranked and stay ranked, you'll look at, like, you'll be like, wait, what? That's like, it's a significant portion of your time.
Sure. Which is fine. I'm not judging him at all for that. But it does, like, like these other things that we care. Like, you're really gonna like question his commitment to being the best basketball player in the world, or being the best he can be, to like his gaming output. Sure, I know that sounds silly, but I'm just saying, man, like, his commitment is still in question until further notice, until we see like legitimate changes. I don't know, man. I'm bringing up a bunch of old shit, and it, to me, I'm glad I can't see the chat right now. I'm probably getting destroyed, and I can take it. I'm not trying to be that negative, but his skill is already, like, he's already in his prime. He came in the league in his prime. I don't really care how much better he gets, but man, he can really take us over the top. Yeah. With some of these other intangible things that I know we've already talked ad nauseum about, but. All right, man. I'll leave it at that, dude. Thanks for having me.
All right, of course. Thanks so much for hanging out and waiting. All right, we got two people left. Let's go with Michael. How you doing, Michael?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Well, I wasn't planning on the Mavericks going down 3-0, but I'm going to say this. If they win tomorrow, or they win Friday, which I think they will, then they have Game 5 on the road in Boston. And I just got a feeling if it goes to that fifth game, there's nothing to lose. And if they win that, then they got a Game 6 at home, which leads to, a Game 7. So I don't know. I mean, it's you can go either way, with it, but I was a little mad with, some of the shots that Luka missed. I mean, just bunny shots, man. I mean, shots that he could probably make in his sleep, and he was just
when they were
the
short.
First quarter,
that was the when I was like, oh no, because sometimes they just rim out, but when the shots go short, it's like, crap.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's like the first quarter was great, but then after that, just something happened, and you just got to give credit to Boston, man, coming back every time with those threes, man. But I'm telling you, man, they're like, I know they're a really good team and stuff, but I just would love to see them, this is the thing. When you think of 7 games, you think, oh, they got to win 4 straight. I don't think in those terms. I think if they got it to a Game 6, that then you would really start to kind of see how this team could be. I mean, they got to win. They got to win the next game, obviously. But then the whole thing is like going on the 5th game, going back, or I'm sorry, fifth game. Yeah, going on the 5th game to Boston and somehow winning that and denying those fans, to celebrate. If they just lose 2 games, then you just got to look at all the pressure is on the Celtics. And
yeah,
I'm not saying they're, not a real good team, but man, you just got to, there's just something. Think about this. Okay, the Mavericks were down 21 in the 4th quarter, and they got it down to 3. Okay,
they got it down to 1.
Game.
It was 93-92. I was like all the way down to 1 point.
Right. And then, but think about this though. The first game, they were down by some ridiculous amount, and they got it in single digits.
27
They
points,
just weren't able. They just weren't able to get over the top. So you got to feel that. If I'm Jason Kidd, I'm bringing that up. I'm saying, guys, we were so close. I mean, you got to do anything you can mentally to tell these guys to think that they have a chance. And just based on that, and then you look at the Game 2. Game 2, they were really, really close, and then it came down to that, the push or whatever, or PJ missing, the dunk and the great block, as they say. And they're so close, and I'm just thinking if they can just get 1 win, if they can win on Friday, then how asshole Luka could be on in Boston, and he would love to do it. And then if they get back to a Game 6, if they make it to a Game 6, you gotta like your chances for them winning.
I love this positivity. So we needed this close to the end.
Thanks, man. And then I absolutely despise Dolores Burke. I mean, even before just when I couldn't believe that ABC would do that with Mike Bream, and JJ Redick's pretty good, but oh my God, man, she's freaking. I want to say the C word, but I'm not. But it's just, oh my God, she
That'd
just
get me in trouble somehow.
But I mean, it's just. Ludicrous. Like you said, they're on a 20-2 run, and then she's just trying to talk about
Derek White.
And then,
it's like, come on, lady, can we relax, please?
God Almighty! And it's just, sometimes she'll, when Luka does stuff, she'll say how good Luka is, but that's just because if she didn't, then she would be all,
There was a
Boston.
really
So she
my
throws
fa-
that little shit.
there was
What's
a
that?
really there was a play where Luka missed a layup past Tatum, and she kind of harped on how good Tatum's defense was. And then they replayed the play and showed Tatum with a clear foul. And it's just so weird. Anyway, I don't announce crews are difficult. I probably shouldn't have brought it up in the other show, but it's just like I kind of come to hate every announce crew. That's just sort of
Well, I mean, if you look at like the guys from TNT, when I watch these national games, Mark Followell is incredible. I watch him all the time. I mean, he is so good. I mean, look at the other the local announcers for local teams, and Mark Followell, man. You look at what he does compared to some what these true. I mean, Hollowell can be a homer, but he is more objective, and he gives credit to the other team. And these other, my God, some of these other announcers for their home teams are just absolutely ridiculous. But when I have to turn the sound down, especially in Minnesota, because it was like those three dudes were just trying to figure, okay, how can Minnesota try to win this game, either if they're at home or on the road? It wasn't like, okay, normally we'll give the road team, try to give them, pointers or credit. But no, if they were home, it's like, okay, what can Minnesota do to win? If on the road, what does Minnesota? I mean, it's such a biased thing. I have to turn the sound down like I did today because and I like Mike Ream, but I cannot stand that woman. And oh God.
Well, Reddick drives me crazy too. Like he actually used the phrase on air ethical hooper, which is like, oh, I stare at the internet. Michael, thank you so much. All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk soon. We have the wonderfully named Jackson Vanderslice on mute. Jackson, what's up, man?
What's up, Kirk?
Welcome to the show. What's going on?
Thank you. I'm toughing out a drive on my way back to Austin right now. I give my all at the ACC tonight, AAC, but just wasn't enough in the end.
Oh man, and then you got a 3 hour drive home. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm like I said, more sad than just anything, but
sure.
You can't be mad with this season. Just going into the playoffs, I just wanted to get a series, maybe two, right? You make the Western Conference Finals and you win in 5 games, and you're like, oh fuck, this might be real. And then you get all the way here, and it's gut wrenching, but there's a lot to look forward to next season. I think we can leave the Lucas stuff where it is, but it starts with him and it ends with him. So he's going to get all the praise and take all the criticism. I just hate that we made it this close tonight. If we had just lost by 21, I would have been packing it up and saying, we gave it a run, but the run at the end just gave so much life. It's hard to weather that.
Well, I'm really glad you listened to the show. I hope you drive safe. All right.
Thanks, Kirk.
All right. Talk soon. All right, Sean. Sean, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kirk. Long-time listener, first-time caller, because I tell you, this one really stung. I took my son to the game, his first finals game. He's only 9 years old, so he wasn't around for 2011. So I just got him tucked in. So I missed everything else up till now, but I just want to call in. It's my first time calling, like I said, but man, I don't know what everyone said. The last caller said something about leave the Luka stuff alone, but that's really why I'm calling.
That's what this show is for. If you got who else are you going to talk to at midnight? Can't go wake your wife. Can't go wake your wife up. She'll be that person be mad at you.
Yeah,
that's right.
I gotta say, first thing, we wouldn't be here without Luka, no doubt, 100%. But man, this guy has to grow up. You would think he'd learn. He shows us every series this playoff run. He screws up royally. We lose the game. He comes back, man, determined. But man, when you have Dirk sitting there, you have the 2011 title team in attendance, like over half the team there. You would think that would get some wisdom in his head. Like he hears everyone say it. He listens to everyone. You know it. He comes out on fire after a horrible game, after a bad performance. But it's like the guy can't just help himself. Like I saw him barking at the refs. I mean, most of the time he's tired because he's foul baiting. That first half, he has wide open looks and is just trying to draw the foul, pump fake, spin, pump fake, and either ends up in a missed shot or a turnover, and he's on his ass looking at the ref, bitching at him, and the ref is running up the court with the Boston Celtics, by the way, and the ref's looking back, and everyone's imploring him. The whole crowd is yelling, "Get up, get up!" And
there was an instance, and this didn't get covered on the broadcast, but it was towards the end of the first quarter where he did one of those, and the Mavs bench is like begging him. They're all being like, "Go, go, go!" And he's just talking to the ref, ignoring him, and that was painful. That was painful.
Yeah, and I mean, Hauser burned him on 2 threes where he's either late in transition because he's bitching at the ref, and the other time he's just caught watching. And they swing the ball to Hauser. Luka is literally turning his head while Hauser's shooting, and then that Tatum dunk on that one play where it should have been a foul call on Tatum. He got away with it. Tatum sprints up the court. Luka's still on his butt and not even past the half court line. And Tatum's dunking it. I mean, I love the guy. I bought a finals jersey today because he's the best player in the world. I'll always admit that. But man, the guy has to grow up. And I told my son on the ride home, and he was just so upset. I just said, you know what, don't take this the wrong way. But honestly, I'm a MFFL for life. I hope we get swept because there's nothing else that'll make this guy. I can't think of anything that'll make this guy wake up and grow the F up because he's heard it. We've all said it. I'm sure Kid and Nico and Cuban have all said it, but man, the guy, he just can't help himself.
Well, this is where I think, and again, I don't want to make excuses. I don't want to downplay any of these criticisms. I do think, I think when he is tired, he is hurt, it gets worse. And I don't want to call, I'm just going to simply say that I understand it. And, you know, he mentioned, I've sleuthed around insofar as somebody like me can. And what happened before the Thunder Game 5 series, where he talked after the fact, where he said, you know, people that really care about me got together and told me this has to stop. Like, that was the equivalent of what he said.
Yeah.
He did okay for a while, but now I think I'm just very surprised he came into this game with that sort of going about it. Cause he actually played pretty amazing in that first quarter. And then there was like 4 possessions that really caused the Celtics to get back into it. And then you look at a 7-point margin of victory and you wonder. That's all.
And I think most Mavs players, the whole team, fans, we're all going to look back at the series and just think game 2, game 3, it was right there. And we just couldn't get it done. I mean, Boston's a better team, but we have the 2 best players in the series. I still believe that. Kyrie showed up, but now Luka didn't show up in the way he should. He didn't play nearly as well as he did in game 1 and game 2. And, you know, that's the end of it. I mean, the role players, they shit their pants again. I mean, PJ, too little, too late. Lively, a little bit too little, too late. I loved his energy, his passion. He got the crowd hyped so much. But that missed alley-oop, some missed defensive rotations. I mean, at the end of the day, they're a better complete team. But I think we're all going to, you know, look back on this summer and just be like, man, coulda, shoulda, but didn't.
Oh, it's tough, man. Well, I'm glad you got to go to the game. Glad you got to experience that. Hope you get to go back at some point. I would have loved to have gone to a finals game.
I'm 0-2 now. I went to game 3, I think. I went to game 3 in 2011.
Wow.
And this one, I told my son and my wife when we got home, I was like, I'll never go to another one. I'm undefeated in the playoffs except for the finals. So at this point, I'm done with the finals. I hope we make it back, of course, but I just want to take my son because, you know, I'm a Cowboys fan also, but Mavs way more than Cowboys. And I'm just like, this could be a once in a lifetime thing. God forbid anything happens to Luka, but you never know. So that's why I was like, hey, I'll pay. I'll take him to this game because he's 9. He'll remember this for the rest of his life, I hope. But at the end of the day, it was a once in a lifetime thing for him and definitely the last time for me because I think I'm bad luck in the finals.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you called and hung out with us, man. Talk soon.
Take care, Kirk. Thanks for everything you do.
Sure. Hey, so there's a special guest that joined the show. This guy named Josh Bowe. He is a contributor at MavsMoneyball.com, and I'm pretty sure he's on the train. Josh, what are you doing?
I'm not on the train. I'm done with the train, but I am pulling into a Whataburger soon. There's a long wait, and I was like, all right, let's see if Kirk's still recording, and I'm going to see how this works on my phone. I got your audio pumping in through the Bluetooth in my car, so
Well, I got two more guests, and then if you're still hanging out here, then let me work through these last two folks here. Why don't you just hang out? All right.
Yeah, I'll be right here. I'll just be on
mute. Zach, what's going on, man? Why don't you join the show?
Hey, am I on?
You are on. What's going on?
Hey, man, I just want to, much like the last caller, I'm also driving back to Austin. This show has kept me awake. It's kept me alive. I appreciate it. I've gone to the majority of the games, and this show has been a godsend on the drive home, so I do appreciate it. I went to the game tonight. I'm going on Friday. Brought my dad, 78, tonight, bringing my 12-year-old son, soon to be 12 on Friday. If I wasn't bringing him, I'm thinking about selling it, but he's all about it. I went to the Knicks game with him when Luka had that improbable comeback, and I made him leave, which he will never let me hear the end, and rightfully so. I am a cynic. I am always but seeing it in the eyes of a 12-year-old, he's like, no, we got this. Even when the game one was a blowout, it's more through his eyes than my old, tired 40-year-old eyes. So I'll say I appreciate the show. Luka's doing too much foul baiting, needs to finish. I think, like you said, just tired. He plays better when he's mad than frustrated, but this show has kept me awake, and I've enjoyed it after all the games, and I'm going to enjoy Game 4 through the eyes of a 12-year-old. Let's have fun. Swing your pendulum far to the left and the right. Losses hurt, wins are great, but let's just have fun with it. So that's all I got. Appreciate your show.
Good attitude, Zach. Thank you so much for joining. Drive safe.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we got my man Ray. I'm looking at his ceiling, but I bet he's there. He is.
I'm back.
Ray, what's up, man?
Good. Yourself?
You know, I am here. It's been
yes. So
I for people who haven't been here for the whole show, I recommend listening to the opening of the recap show that I did, where you can hear about how strange my day was, and then you'll look back on this moment when you and I are talking, and you're gonna go, holy shit.
Because I'll be honest, I finished the game watching it with my wife, and the first thing I said was, Kirk Henderson's going to be so mad.
I really wasn't, I really wasn't. Today was a day of like a lot of like real life perspective shit. And so I was really excited they made it a game. Like, had they come in here after getting thumped, I think I would have been super pissed.
Yes.
So,
but I actually wrote down a few bullet point one-liner notes as I was kind of going through it, pretending to be a journalist, that sort of shit.
Sure.
First question was Dante Exum, Christian Mock, was the first thing I wrote down, because he was staying in front of guys, well, from what I saw anyways. He made a dunk, and then same as always, 3 minutes played, you're out forever. Make that what you will. Then you mentioned something about you didn't get to see the good and the bad part of the first quarter, right?
I was relaying it through our Mavs Moneyball Slack, which was like 200 comments of people like waffling. Luka looks great, and then at the end, it's like, what is happening?
I wasn't too focused on Luka, to be honest. On this one, this was my focus, and I wrote this down. The moment we put Maxey in the game with Hardy for those few minutes, where I saw a change was there was a swing pass, and Kleber hesitated to shoot. Then an extra pass to Hardy. Hardy steps out of bounds. And they had the ESPN camera on Luka yelling at Maxey to shoot the fucking ball. And then that was the beginning of the moment to me on that first quarter that everything started to go tits up. That's just kind of how I saw it. And the last one during the game I kind of wrote down was Tim, question mark, during, Luka getting fouled out, as opposed to DJJ or anybody else, really. Exum even. I don't know. We can talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. ad nauseum, but that it is what it is, I guess.
Sure.
Yep. But I kind of was mad, and then I calmed down, and then I kind of put it into perspective, and I wrote down 2022 Celtics, which to me was, are we just the 2022 Celtics right now?
You mean like just a little ahead of schedule without enough seasoning?
Correct.
That sort of thing?
Yeah, playing the best team in the league, the Warriors, and they just don't have. They just need one or two more guys, to finish the job type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like it comes down to a very simple thing. Their 3-7 is better than our 3-7. Maybe that's all it comes down to at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe it's a way to kind of look at it and go, it's a kind of a blessing we made it
well,
this far to experience, you know, this is where we need to kind of, this is the level we need to be in, and it kind of weed out the herd a little bit. So the names I wrote down, the Maxis, Tim. I to be honest, because what do they say all the time in the NBA? They go, there's 82 game players and there's 16 game
16
players, right?
game players, yeah.
I think it should be expanded a little bit. It should be there's 82 game players, there's 12 game playoff players, and then there are finals players.
Well,
in a way, because some will happen through development and some or through experience of doing it for the first time. So you don't give up on Lively because he's a 20-year-old rookie who's, you know, kind of experiencing it for the first time. But you can tell right off the bat, as Maxi's had his moments in the playoffs and Tim had that one game in the playoffs, you don't play them in a finals game, ever. That's how I see it.
Well, you know, it's tough with these players because the Celtics rotation isn't that deep right now either. And, you know, they lose KP and they got contributions from guys tonight in ways that the Mavericks were looking for contributions for guys on the road.
Yeah. But in your deep hearts of hearts, when you watch Maxi take a shot or when you watch Tim make a shot, you don't think, come on, buddy, you got this. You go, fuck, please make it out.
I mean, every time, like since Maxi got hurt.
Yeah. And we've had it for years too. So I don't know. I think it's a good way to kind of reflect and go, are we just going to say, hey, we're great, let's run it back? Or are we, I'm not going to say we're going to find a Holiday or a Porzingis, but, you know, are we going to try something at least to make ourselves stronger? And Luka doesn't have to have a high usage rate in an NBA Finals and then have bitch and moaning stories come out.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of what I got on that.
Well, I'm grateful you stayed up late. You got anything else before we get out of Dodge?
We'll be fine. Whether it's a sweep or not, you know, experience is the best teacher, and we'll take the hits just like we did in 06 and come back better. That's all there is to it.
That's right, man. Thanks so much for hanging out.
No worries, man.
All right. We got my man Nick Robb walking around Los Angeles. What's going on?
Hey, dude. So look, I could say all the Tim Hardaway Jr. stuff, the Hardy stuff that everybody else says. Let me just hop on this one topic that seems to be really present for a lot of people tonight, and that's the gaming of Luka. Fucking miss me with this bullshit. Like, this is, like, imagine how your day was today. You went to your job, and then you went to the hardware store, the grocery store. These are things Luka Doncic can't do.
Right.
You know? And so it's like, this man steps out, and he is hounded for his autograph. He is hounded for this. Give me this, give me this, give me this by everybody.
Sure.
So he's going to stay home, and, you know, he's going to game. That's fine. That's fine. That's his off time. Look, a lot of players at 25, you know, their BAC was a perpetual 30%.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, I don't know. I'm just saying, miss me with all this. Like, oh, he's good at Valorant, or I don't know what the games are. I don't play like that anymore. But it's just like, this is not why the series is going the way it is. This is not why his performance is going this is. This is not why his conditioning is what you think it should be. He's a good gamer because he's been an extremely famous person since 16. He can't go to the bank. He can't go to the grocery store. You know, like, they don't know him at Lowe's. Like, he's not doing that. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, this is not an excuse. This is just a fact of his life, which is much different than yours, than mine, than I'm.
What do you mean, Nick? When I go to the PTA meetings, I get recognized by weird dads that listen to podcasts.
Yeah, and it's weird for you. And I am going to guess that there is a certain bit of you that says, this is
Every
awkward,
time.
this is unusual.
Every time.
Don't like this.
Every
don't
time,
want
except for my friend on my son's basketball team, who she's like, oh, it is great meeting. You're right though. It is weird. So this is you're making a great point. Your point is well
Imagine
taken.
if there was 2,000 people like that when you just want to go get some
Sure.
boneless, skinless chicken breast for yourself because you ran out. You've beaten the Tim Hardaway stuff to death, the Hardy stuff, everything else. This is just what I wanted to offer. This is just how I see things.
I very much appreciate your contribution. Thanks so much for staying up late with us.
Yeah, it's not late for me, but yeah, you got it.
All right, talk soon.
All
right, Josh, you're coming back on. Hope you've eaten all of your Whataburger at midnight. Josh has not eaten all his Whataburger at midnight. We'll see if he's actually able to rejoin here, which he might not be able to because he is probably either driving or riding in the car or something of that nature. All right. So if Josh is going to be able to rejoin, I think I'm going to close it up shop. We're here almost at about 2 hours. Shout out to my 6-month-old for not waking up during this process. Shout out to my 8-year-old for not waking up and coming in here and joining the show. This was always a bit of a gamble. We'll be back on Friday. I'm not sure if Josh is going to go to the game on Friday. Oh, hey, there he is.
All right. Well, give me like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I can keep talking. Yeah, no, it's fine. So I don't know what our schedule is going to be. Obviously, we only got 1 day off between games. I don't know if Josh is going to go to game 4. Like I sort of just because Josh used to be boots on the ground reporter guy for Mavs Moneyball, 10 years ago. And so I encouraged him to go do this. And so I'm very curious to see if, one game, it's such like, guys, everybody like beats on like Brad Townsend and any of these guys that go to games regularly. It's very taxing to physically go to the games. It's a 5-hour commitment. And you're like, okay, well, it's so-and-so's job, but it is their job. But it's a 5-hour commitment on both sides of it. Plus, if you and granted, the whole point of going to the game is not so you can just go there with a seat. It is to go there to create something from it. You come home, you write a story. You come home, you do a video, you do a podcast. It's that sort of thing. And so Josh went as media tonight and got to sit up in the Sting rafters in section 300. And I don't know if he's going to do it again for game 4, but so if he doesn't, we'll probably record like normal. If he does, then I'll probably get somebody from Mavs Moneyball. Our colleague Matthew basically was like on site because he was can't.
Hey, I'm back.
All right. So you got any closing thoughts for us?
Oh boy. I just thought, it was a weird game. I'm going to write about it when I get home. I tried to ask, because, to me, the story of the game, I know, a lot of people I'm sure you had a lot of people talking about refs. And obviously that's like, I'm not going to deny the fan passion of being mad at the refs. Like it was, that sucks. So I'm not going to even try to broach it. If you want to be pissed off about it, totally like be pissed off about it. Like that's part of the deal, like I'm not going to tell anyone that they're being silly for being mad at refs after a game like this. But for me, like it was it's the offense, and it's, the defense has also been a challenge, but we kind of knew, like personnel wise, there's just not a lot that they can do defensively. I think that to adjust, there's some things they could do, but it's just Boston is just like the perfect team for this specific Mavs defense. But offensively, it's just like, it's one screen and ISO, and I tried to ask everyone that I could after the game was kind of like, well, what do you do about that? And Kyrie gave the most in-depth answer, and he was basically like, we have to be more efficient with our one-on-one so that they feel like they have to change their coverage. So it didn't seem like it was more, well, we need to adjust and we need to do this. It was more, we're getting shots that we feel like we're okay with, and we just have to force them out of it by being more efficient. Kyrie was pretty efficient. Obviously, Luka wasn't. I think he shot like 40% overall from the floor. I don't have the box score, but it kind of just sounded like this is, because this is the team, right? They got Kyrie and Luka are two of the best isolation scorers in the NBA. Like, at a certain point, it's like asking a leopard to change its spots in a way. Like I know that people want more adjustments offensively and more off-ball movement. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I just don't know if this team can all of a sudden do something that it just hasn't been doing a ton of.
But they did do stuff all season. But the difference is the teams they played against were not able to switch 1 through 5. So it's like the Celtics are effectively playing like a box and one zone on whoever has the ball. Like, and I don't want to make that excuse, but it's what's happening. And what are you going to do there? What are like the comeback was really like, I'm glad the Mavs came back and made a little bit of fight of it, because had they gotten blown out, this would have been a very different feeling discussion. It showed that the Mavericks can do a little bit now and then. They just need to, there's a lot of stuff that I think they could try, and they're going to look at the game tape. I think they're going to look at the game tape and be very frustrated with what they did earlier in the game to not take more advantage of things that happened later in the game. They dug too deep a hole once again.
Yeah, for sure. It was Luka went to the bench in the first quarter for like 2 minutes, and it went from like 25 to 12, and then they're only up 31 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
And they had and then they never really got their footing after that. And again, it's all one-on-one play, and the Celtics are, that's what makes the Celtics so tough. Is it's just like you said, they can switch. They could switch easily 1 through 4. I don't think they like switching the center. Like I thought that was the one thing the Mavericks did do that I felt like, okay, like they actually looked at some stuff. Like, I know people get mad and they didn't make any adjustments, but like they very clearly were like, okay, no KP. Whoever the big man is, Horford or Tillman, your man is setting a screen for Luka or Kyrie, and we are roasting that motherfucker. Pardon my language. Like they very ruthlessly were targeting the Celtics centers, and it was working. But the Celtics, then I wonder if the Mavericks were like, okay, we just had our best offensive 12 minutes of the series. Now they're going to change. Like maybe they're going to double, or they're going to try to do something to get. And the Celtics just never change. They just never wavered from their defensive game plan, and they were just like, okay, you guys just keep scoring. Like you're just gonna have like Luka, Kyrie, you're both gonna have to score 45 to beat us, and it just just didn't happen. And they're gonna look at the film, and I don't take everything that these guys say at the press conference as a face value. They're always going to say, yeah, we like our shots, because they don't want to be like, yeah, we hate it. They're not going to be like, yeah, we hated our shots. This guy played like shit. Like they're going to, they're professional. They're not going to say that in front of 50 media people or whatever, and on live TV. So, you take that with a grain of salt about how
was there any explanation for the Hardaway minutes? That's a lot of Hardaway minutes, man.
No, our former boss Cato kind of asked about it, and asked about like you played 11 guys. No one else really asked, and Kid's answer was basically just what you would have expected. Just like he was just saying, I'm trying to find someone. I don't really know.
But it's like trying to find somebody and then sticking with him, like because that was Hardaway's minutes are quite literally the easiest stat line to point to say the Mavericks lost the game, because you finish with Luka as a +9 and Hardaway is a -16 in a 7-point game. Like that sucks.
Yeah, it was weird. Like the previous caller, like I really, I didn't get a chance to ask. I got big timed when I tried to ask a kid question. They just didn't.
The internet doesn't want us to hear Josh Bowe. We've been bonked by cover. There, you out there? No, we're losing Josh. It's okay. It's almost 2 hours. I want to go to sleep.
And I think my phone is trying Wi-Fi.
Oh, your phone is trying to connect to the Wi-Fi now that you're home? That's the best.
Yes.
All right, man. Hey, don't worry about it. Go inside. We'll talk later, okay? All right, later. And we got one more joiner that I see down there, Mr. Luka Doncic. What's going on, dude? You noted you joined the chat late. What are you thinking? What's going on?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks for joining.
Oh, good. I was like creating an